What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Talks with Jacob, where I interview doers, achievers, and go-getters and how they created their own luck and became successful. And today we are here with Deepak Shukla from London, UK. So Deepak is an interesting dude. In fact, I don't know where to begin. But for starters, he's running an SEO agency based in London called Pearl Lemon. And he's currently launching an amazing app called WordPigeon. He's also lived in 9 cities, backpacking 60 plus countries, lived homelessly for a week in London, but that's not all. He's also a real estate investor, owning multiple properties, forex trader, personal development geek, soldier, and we're gonna discuss all of that. So if you want to know more about Deepak and his incredible life adventure, keep watching. So welcome to the show, Deepak.
Hey Jacob, thank you for the introduction, man. It's good to be here, dude. I've been looking forward to this for a little while, so I'm glad that I'm just glad we put this together. I'm glad that I'm here with your beautiful self. Let's roll.
Yeah, thank you. So Deepak, first question: are you a superhero?
Definitely not, dude. I just like to do things, man. I mean, much like we're doing WordPigeon, and that's how we've got to know each other. I feel thankful that one of the things that's going to come of the launch that we're doing is that I got to meet you. So I think that the better perhaps answer to it is I have found the time to do a lot of things in the years that I've lived on Earth because I try and say yes to almost all of the ideas that pop into my brain and see what comes out on the other side.
But your name and your look isn't very British. So how did the Indian fella found himself in the UK?
So good question. So my parents, of course, my parents are from India. They moved over to the UK they moved over to the UK in, I think, the 60s. Like, my mom and dad basically had an arranged marriage. My mom was like 11. My dad was 13. First time they saw each other, they got married. Yeah, no, it's really like, even as a migrant stories goes, it's not that traditional. So my parents had an arranged marriage. They came to the UK because my grandfather brought them over in search of a better life. And, that's how I and my 4 siblings, I'm the youngest of 5, came into being. And I'm really, really lucky to have grown up around parents who, my dad's 63. He still works like 60 hours a week, and he exercises 1 hour every day, 7 days a week for the last 5-10 years.
Is he still fit?
Yeah, dude. He does his push-ups, he does his sit-ups, he does his squats.
63.
He's 63. He's 63, dude.
That's impressive. Do you work out?
I do functional-based training. So I do workouts specific to something that I'm training for. So at the moment, I'm training to have my first amateur boxing match. So at the moment, I'm training 3 times a week with a coach, and I begin sparring this week. So the training that I will do will be for a specific event. In terms of general, to kind of look good, or I don't do any of that stuff. It will be just for a sport. So mostly at the moment, I'm doing boxing training, which consists of sparring, a lot of condition, some strength, a lot of conditioning, and then also short interval runs that we'll do. They'll often put me on the treadmill and make me run until I fall off, type of thing. So that's kind of training I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, but you were actually fighting before in Brazil, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I was I did one fight, Muay Thai. I was summer of 2014.
Okay.
So five-ish years ago, and I was in Brazil because I was traveling, I guess, the world. But at that time, I moved from backpacking into kind of living abroad, and I watched my friend Luke introduced me to this film called The Warrior with Tom Hardy, and he was like, dude, watch this movie. I think it was around then. And I was like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, man, you should do like MMA, UFC. It's like amazing. He was super into it. I had no clue what it was then. Literally, I had no clue. I just knew really of boxing and then cage fighting, but I wasn't really familiar with it. So he sold it to me in a bunch of videos. And I was living in Lisbon at that time. And at that time, I was doing my runs. So I was doing a lot of running. So then I got out to Brazil, and I stayed at the Caipi hostel for the first week I was there, I remember. And then from there, I Google mapped the nearest fighting gym, which was Art Fighters. So if anyone Googles Art Fighters Deepak, They'll find videos on YouTube of me.
Oh
I did one.
shit! Well, how is it again? Can you spell it?
Yeah, so ART, second word fighters, and then search like Deepak, Art Fighters Deepak, Art Fighters Deepak Shukla, Art Fighters Muay Thai. And I did one of their like random promo videos because they're just like some gym in
Okay.
Rio. And that was the gym that I went to, and it was quite funny
And
because
did you win the
yeah.
fight?
So my
You
fight is
actually
also
you actually
my,
won.
my
Nice.
fight is also on YouTube, so you can watch my fight as well. So if you search now Deepak Shukla Muay Thai, then you'd find my fight. I won in the second round via technical knockout. So as it turned out, I didn't know at the time at all. I kind of the guy's nose broke, but I think it broke weirdly. So his whole face started, well, around his eyes, it
Wow.
started to swell up, and then he wasn't. As you see when you watch the fight, if you do watch it on YouTube, like we kept getting stopped because they couldn't stop the bleeding in his nose, and then I think that they stopped the fight in the second round. So I had no idea at that time. I was just shitting myself and then just like putting my hands in front of my face because this guy was like punching me, and then I was trying to fight back.
But you do a bunch of other like extreme things. I know that you run 33 marathons in 20 countries. Why?
Oh, dude, it's just like I'm a great believer in combining passions. I've been passionate about running and I'm passionate about traveling. So I thought, why not try and do both and kind of,
Well,
see where that
sounds like
takes
a
me.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I mean, I would literally, like, a lot of people are very familiar with like quick weekend getaways. So I might book a flight out to, Prague or Zagreb, and and I might book like a Ryanair round return flight. But what I'd also do is I would book flights based upon marathon calendars, and then I'd go there and I'd run a marathon, see the city, party a little bit, and come back. Look, man, a lot of the stuff that come, all of us are guilty of having conversations where we said, "Oh, that sounds like a cool idea. Oh, yeah, that would be nice," or "That's interesting," and we're very guilty of then not taking action on the basis of something that we say or something that we hear. 90% of us are guilty because we don't self-audit. What are you saying? And is what you're saying or implying or inferring in accordance with what you're delivering? And if
So you do basically everything which seems like a good idea.
I do everything as much as I can. If I say it, then I'll do my very best to do it. And if I also think, or someone tells me something's a good idea, once I've decided I'm going to do it, then definitely I'll give it a go. And I think that it's psychology that inhibits a lot of people. A lot of people overthink, but the act of running a marathon actually begins with just booking some flights to the country and then booking the marathon registration. And that's actually not that hard. It's harder developing an application from scratch. It's harder, launching an SEO agency. It's harder, holding podcasts on a regular basis and going through the work of finding guests, trying to promote the show, building all of the editing, outreach, and then realizing that you only got 10 fucking views. That's way harder. So actually booking a marathon is not hard at all. So I think that, reference points are really interesting. I think that we should use them more, and that we all fall prey of black and white thinking. That sounds like a lot, or, how did you do that? And it's like, when you kind of change that and realize that the whole world is eternal shades of gray, just, book a marathon and see what happens. Doesn't even matter if you don't do it. It's the act of getting into that mindset and mind frame. And that's the thing that I think that sometimes we don't see. Like my marathons and the times have been very good. The victory lies in the eternal approach and desire I have to experiment. And that's, what I think that I do quite well. I am very, very open and up for trying things and then just seeing what result I get.
Yeah, and I mean, you are a prime example of someone who is not overthinking things. If I go through the Paralemon website, you have a lot of videos there, and so many people would just spend thousands of dollars in producing high quality video, but you're just there talking from Costa Coffee, and you're delivering a great message, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, Absolutely, man. I think that, a lot of people get, the problem of perfection, the problem of like masses of planning, and actually that gets in the way of progress. It gets in the way of progress. And, I'm really proud to, have an agency that's grown very quickly. I don't come from an SEO background. 2 months before I launched my agency, I just decided that I wanted to become an SEO expert. And now I'm partnering with SEMrush as one of their main speakers, and I decided a couple of months ago that I want to launch an app. And now I'm partnering with probably one of the fastest growing deals websites for actual product launches, PitchGround. So for me, it's, the 10,000 hour rule that people speak of. I think it's actually more a case of like 10,000 actions.
Hmm.
and you can compress the time. I don't skip any of the steps, and no one. It's a lot like dating. A good parallel is the guys that you hear the war stories of. Man, like I remember in my early 20s when dating was a big thing. I'd be like, oh man, I met this girl and we spent the night together the first time. Or, I launched a startup, man, and, I got to like, MVP, and then we launched and we got to like 1 million users a month, like la, la, la. No one skips any steps in getting to the 1 million users or getting to spend a night with, someone. It's just a case of you compress the time taken or the actions between those steps. So in place of, me continually thinking about the strategy for running a marathon, I just book the flights, I book the marathon, and then I post it on Facebook, and then I'll get out the door and I'll go for a run. And I have just saved myself probably 1 month of talking about it, 1 month of planning. The same thing with what we just discussed on our PitchGround webinar. I said, hey, I've just decided I'm going to do 1,000 words live. I had no clue I was going to say that, but but now you see my Facebook status update because I want to have integrity. I wrote 1,300 words this morning. I haven't live streamed it yet, but I'm going to slowly start building the steps. I've now told one of my team, create a YouTube channel. Let's link it to Restream. Let's set up this quick group. And, within a week or two's time, I'll have a whole framework that will be attached to the initial action. And I think that, the less time that people spend planning and the more time they spend acting, actually the better at planning that you'll get, because all of those micro actions that you take lead you to more intuitive thinking. So I think that, intuition comes as a consequence of a huge volume of actions. And that's how people can see results faster, because you're like, you know what, in the same time that you tried one launch, I tried 100. 97 of them failed, actually. But
so do you think the key is tasting as many different things as you can?
I think that, I don't know, man. I think that I think that a lot of it depends upon the style that we all have to life. So I don't have a talent for going very deep into things, probably. And some could argue that maybe, I suffer, but it's about making the best of your style with which you approach life.
Yeah.
Some people can create and orchestrate the most fantastically produced video, or they can run a marathon in less than 3 hours. I do better at volume, and I do better at speed. So I focus upon where my strong suits are.
So what has been, you're saying that you're saying yes to a lot of things. So do you remember like the craziest or something not that good that you said yes to, and then it was like really different from what you've expected?
So I've got like a tattoo. So I've got a lot of tattoos. As you can see, for those of you who are just listening, I've got a lot of tattoos, like on my arms and my shoulders and my back, and like kind of everywhere. And I was sitting in 13 Ink. It's a tattoo shop on Brighton Road in Worthing. Paul was my tattoo artist, really great guy. I booked in for an 8-hour day. So I used to go down to Worthing, which is near my sister's home, and I would book in for 8-hour days to get tattoos. And I usually would plan the tattoo the day or two before I went down, or sometimes on the same day. It's like that. That's like my style.
Plan a tattoo, you mean like what will be tattooed on you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's like been my style for for life to a large degree with all of the things that you saw on the 52K words. And I had run out of inspiration and motivation. So I was like, oh, you know what? I don't smoke. So why don't I get a no smoking sign like on my hip? And Paul was like, are you sure, dude? Like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. So I ended up getting the tattoo like on my hip, just right where you'll have the lining for like your jeans or for your. So what would also happen is that as I got this tattoo, which already looked terrible, by the way, it would rub against my my shorts because I was also training for runs at that time. So there'd be a lot of chafing. So it got infected. The tattoo got all messed up. It all healed up and stuff because this is a couple of years back. But I basically got now a giant splodge like on my hip that looks so fucking bad, dude. And that's definitely one of the decisions that I think that I should have thought through more. But I accept it. You know, that is
so you didn't even know where you want to be tattooed?
Yeah, no, dude. Like, I've got one there. I've got like a meteor that was meant to be a meteor in my mind, but the tattooist and my friend who was with me, this was in Florianopolis in Brazil. He was like, dude, that looks more like a testicle that's just like on your leg, like a third testicle.
Now you cannot unseen it.
Yeah. It cannot be unseen. So things like that happen, man. Things like that happen. Like I've got, you know, I've got experiences like that.
Right.
I mean, I don't regret them. I consider it a consequence of, you know, my style. I consider it as a consequence of the way that I get tattoos. That, you know what, I love what they represent. I love the stories they bring, and oftentimes people bring them up for me because they're like, "Oh, dude, you got like a lot of tattoos." And they're like, "What's your story?" I was like, "I'm just fucked up, man." And then
All right, Pearl Lemon. Tell me about that. How did you build it? When? Where? Why?
So I left. So I'm 33. I spent most of my 20s kind of abroad traveling. My startup desire was probably questionable then. I was more interested in just kind of seeing the world and doing all of this type of stuff. So all of the kind of stories you speak of are much more related to my 20s. Dude, I think I got to 30 and I had a bit of a breakdown. I was living in Amsterdam. Never smoked. Was there to do an Ironman, actually, in fact. But I remember I was renting in a like semi-detached house, like a 3-bedroom house. I was renting one of the rooms, living with this like Dutch Ghanaian family or something like that. I'm not really sure where they were from. And I was just sitting there kind of crying a little bit on my 30th birthday because I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. I didn't really know what direction or path I was on. So I think that that was a big turning point for me because I then decided that it was time to do something that was a bit more meaningful, that would last, whatever it was going to be. It was like, right, Deepak, it's time to go home, go back to your mum's place. I went back to my folks' place, had no kind of money or savings to speak of. I'd exhausted them through my 20s, building a business, earning money, shutting down the business, using the money kind of cyclically through my 20s. And I had always been pretty good at marketing, pretty good at probably sales and marketing. And I then decided that I'd start a marketing agency, to be honest with you. So it wasn't Pearl Lemon at that time. It was it first was diverse. No, it first was something digital, I think. I don't remember the name. I was setting it up with a friend of mine. I remember getting a train down to Brighton to go and see some initial clients potentially. One of them was a window double glazing company. He didn't turn up for that meeting because he was hungover and he lived in that city. And I'd got like a 2-hour train to go and see this client. I say client, prospect. They didn't sign off any business. That happened once or twice more. And I thought, fuck this bullshit.
Don't go to meetings. One of your rules, right?
Yeah. It was, you know, it was that experience was very instrumental for me. And I ultimately set up again. So I had 3 partners that I tried things with. One was Ross, one was Kat, and then a friend of mine, Nick. And for different reasons, all of those partnerships didn't really work that well. And I think predominantly because, as I've discovered, I'm the key to success when it comes to a marketing agency. I don't actually need a partner for my marketing agency. I need a partner for software because I'm not a software developer.
Right.
Yeah, but that was why I decided to start. And then it was just a case of what has, I guess, I've always tried to do once I've decided to do something, to take massive action. So massive action was, right, let me set up a website. What are other agencies doing? Let me just copy whatever they're doing. What kind of business do I want to have? And my lifestyle has dictated the kind of business I wanted to build. Pearl Lemon is entirely remote, as you know. The team is distributed. I don't have meetings. I don't like meetings. I actively avoid meetings. If I do have meetings, they're all Skype and Zoom. They're never more than 45 minutes with a client. And if they are, they're once a week or less. But for the most part, I liked SEO because you don't have much client calls. It's a slow burning process. So the retention tends to be good. And it's also, to be honest with you, it's also intellectually challenging. SEO isn't social media management. Not that there's anything wrong with social media management, but there's inherent difficulties to SEO. And it makes it also more of a challenge to sell. And I like sales, man. So
because you need to sort of educate your clients on why is it important in their business, right?
Exactly. A lot of people will be like, oh, I don't need SEO, or it's seen as more of a luxury spend, depending on what the industry that you're going into. But yeah, man, like I started the agency, and to be honest with you, I didn't know I was going to do SEO until George, my client George Ustianis, was like, oh, I'd like to. It was through Upwork, I think. Maybe he said he wanted marketing, but in fact he was looking for an SEO agency. I didn't even do SEO at that time, but he was like, oh, I want SEO. I understand it takes 6 months, and I'm in it for the long haul. As soon as I heard those words, I was like, this is motherfucking magic. I was like,
they expect to be working with you for 6 months, right?
yeah, exactly. So I was like, wow, this is a good sale. So then I said yes. I said I could deliver, and I went on a journey to. I already knew a decent amount about SEO. Don't get me wrong. I've been marketing through my 20s, as I told you. That was the one skill that was evident across all of the businesses that I tried and started with varying degrees of success. So it wasn't the case that I had no knowledge about SEO. It's more just the case that I could speak intelligently enough about it, but I didn't really know it. So yeah, it started then, really in August of 2017 was when I started SEO, and then Pearl Lemon came about in probably February 2018. Yeah.
Is there actually an industry where SEO is not important?
It's hard to say because there probably are. If you run a direct mail service, if you run a service that's nothing to do with SEO, if you run like an outdoor radio agency, so yes, I think there's a lot of industries where SEO isn't that important. You can build a massively successful local business without using SEO. In-person marketing still works. If you run a local hairdresser, I don't think that SEO is going to be your best bet for business. If you run a local cafe, businesses that are based upon walk-ins, you don't need SEO, I don't think. Businesses that are based upon referrals, you can do very well without SEO. Like lawyers, doctors, hairdressers. These are very sticky industries where, do you know a good lawyer? Do you know builders is another good example. So tradesmen, I don't think you need SEO. Now, if you want to be ambitious and you want to grow and you want to change the way that you do sales, then SEO, becomes very important. But a lot of companies, can have success through many, many different channels. I'm sure that PitchGround as a business, I don't think their first port of call is SEO and acquiring customers organically. That industry is so cliquey when it comes to lifetime deals and finding developers that you can build a very good business through Facebook, organic as well as the ads. I'd imagine that SEO is a consideration, but it's not a primary by any means.
If you cannot grow all the time thanks to ads. There's always good to have some organic piece, right? Because it's linear, right? You spend more, you get more. But with SEO, well, it adds up
Yeah.
during the time, right? So that's where the magic is actually.
No, look, I'm only saying this because, ironically, because I do, I don't think SEO is the right thing for everybody, is what I mean. I
Hmm.
think that it's applicable to everybody, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing. And certainly, much like my newsletter and branding, these SEO and branding is a slow burner. You will see its value over time, and it can become the most powerful way that you generate new business, you know.
When, if you're saying over time.
It depends how much time you dedicate to it. So as a company, Pearl Lemon generates maybe 60 leads a month from SEO.
Hmm.
Maybe let's just say I'm overshooting. Definitely 50, but let's say 650 to 60 leads a month. We have taken It's taken us probably a year to 18 months to get there. We
Hmm.
have spent a significant time on SEO, huge levels of content, and design and UX. We're always changing things, and it goes round. But now it's definitely how I wanted to build the business. What I love that it's given me, all our clients come inbound, they're pre-qualified. A lot of the clients aren't based in London, so I don't need to meet anybody because I don't need to meet anybody. Uh, I've got my new business team who handle the actual sale. I speak to someone after they come in for the first sale, and then I hand it off to the delivery team. And the model allows me a great freedom of time to do stuff like this with you, to have still an actively growing agency, but to be on your podcast, to entertain launching kind of word pigeon. So, for me, I wanted to build a lifestyle business that could still be very successful, and still have the time to go on SEM Rush webinars every week, and
Hmm.
just to do other stuff, to be honest with you. Like I'm having my adventure that I had in my 20s with traveling with business now. Now
Yes.
I'm just trying shit, and I'm like, you know what? Hopefully, Word Pigeon will become a £500,000 a year business. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will do £5,000 a year. But I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to see what the market says, and we will see where that takes me. And if in a worst case scenario it doesn't work, you know what?
You learned
Marketing,
something.
yeah. And marketing agencies these days are like fucking accountants, man. I mean, everyone needs it. Everyone accepts it. It's a very stable business to be in. So for me, it's a good kind of background business to run and to continue to
Got it.
grow.
Uh-huh. So most of your leads are inbound now, but I also noticed that you're looking for somebody who's good in LinkedIn lead gen. Why?
Yeah. So we've got, that's not for my SEO agency. It's for my
Right.
lead
Okay.
generation. So okay. So the model for Pearl Lemon as a company is that we're building the Pearl Lemon group. The SEO agency is just one facet of it. As soon as I saw that we could build an entirely inbound model, we started setting up sister websites. So Pearl Lemon Leads is another website. We
Hmm.
generate about, so from the 60%, from those 60 leads a month, 50% of them are for the other website, because I was doing that with a partner. Now, me and him aren't together anymore as terms of business partners, and my operations has fell apart. So I've got a couple of clients and I'm looking to rebuild my operations. So the lead gen stuff for LinkedIn is not related to actually SEO. It's related to Pearl Lemon leads. So I think
Right.
that
So what is Perlman Leads? Is it
it's a
lead
lead,
generation agency?
it's a lead generation agency, B2B appointment setting. So I've got like, part of it is we've got a couple of Filipino cold callers. We've got like some UK based, like new business development people. And now I'm still looking for people that can run and manage some of the LinkedIn lead generation for our clients. And that's where that post came in, to try and find a good provider that I could maybe build a team around.
Right. So how do you define a good provider if somebody's watching and maybe they want to
Yeah.
work with you?
I guess in general, guys, I mean, there's no magic bullet, but there's some of the common sense things. I think you should go initially, I'd always go based upon trust. What I know about the person, what I know about their background. I don't mind if they don't have enough client case studies and stuff. A lot of it is determined by attitude and aptitude. So attitude, especially with what I'm looking for. So it's different it depends upon what you're looking for. If you're looking for a transactional outsourced third party provider of services, then if you're looking to hire an SEO agency, then look at client case studies, look at history, look at, do they practice what they preach, and look at all of those things. I'm looking to build a long-term partner. So it's a little bit like looking for a business partner, but I'm happy for someone who seems smart, who kind of gets it, but can figure out the steps along the way, because I'm looking for kind of a long-term investment. So I think that,
So is it the person, right? You don't want to white label anyone's services.
yeah, so it's a person or a small collection. So it could be like an agency, but the agency really is like two people, and they brand themselves as an agency. And I then want them to become their biggest provider. I mean, this is what happened with my SEO agency. I found a small agency. I quickly became their biggest client. I told them, sack all of your other clients. Let's do this together. Let's partner and let's just work on our stuff together. And that's what we did. And it worked really, really well. And we've got better. And now we're partnered as a company. And that's what I'm trying to look for. Someone who's got a pre-existing skill set, but probably is not big enough to like treat me just like another client, who's small enough for me to become their biggest client pretty quickly. And then we can figure out things along the way. So it's still someone that's got some level of understanding and technical background and expertise. So someone like who's a freelancer in LinkedIn lead gen would be ideal for building a business around. Because I'd say, look, can you already do it? Yes, I can do it. Okay, great. Let's see if we can try a test campaign and grow and scale together. The other thing that I also do, and I recommend for hiring, hire 3 or 4 people at the same time. Give them all an allocated test budget, and then just make the best man win.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah. Yeah, we recently did it in Pitch Ground, and it's so powerful. Like we had so many people who wanted to work with us, so we gave them same assignment, like to 12 people, and one really stand out, like, and we hired that person.
Exactly.
You will love the video, by the way, he created. It's amazing.
I need to have a look. Uda sent it to me on Facebook, on WhatsApp. He's like, dude, you got to.
No, I will show it to you after we finish this podcast, because I want to see your reaction live.
Okay. Fucking brilliant.
So let's talk about your ornithologist startup, WordPigeon.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So guys, WordPigeon is a WordPress plugin that ultimately solves a problem that a lot of bloggers have when they're building content that's more than 1,000. If you're writing more than 1,000 words a month, right, then WordPigeon has a use for you. If you write in Google Docs, it absolutely does. The problem that you might have now, if you're a blogger, or if you're a publisher, or if you're an affiliate person, or if you're someone who ultimately is part of an environment that involves content publishing, WordPigeon will save you the formatting problem that you encounter when you copy and paste a document from Google Docs into WordPress. Right. We will, within one click of a button, import content from Google Docs to WordPress whilst retaining all of the formatting, and you just can't do it. There's no other tool at the moment, thankfully, that does it as well as we do it.
No, what I really like about that is, so many people who are starting businesses, they have all the amazing ideas of the features they want to implement, they want to build. It will do this, that, all these things, and they don't really solve a single problem really well. But you do the opposite. You picked one problem and you solved it like 100%. And I think that's the way how to do it.
I hope so. I think so. I mean, that's the basis from which, I mean, expanding product lines is easy. It's easy. I think that's far easier than solving a real, like, find the problem, solve the problem, and then sell the same customer other, solutions to other problems they have, or learn about their other problems, and then build in line with what other people want. And for me, that's what I want, and where I see WordPigeon going. A lot of people, I think, get caught in the idea that, well, if you focus on a very particular niche, you limit your success, Deepak, because, the total market size versus onboarding, it's harder to get started. That's the one challenge, that when you solve one thing, if we built a lead generation tool, let's just say we built a lemless competitor, an email, we could target anyone, which in theory would make our onboarding easier, but it would make our retention a lot more difficult.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I think people are afraid of. But then also, with WordPigeon, we're talking about bloggers. There's, of course, if we build a strong community, we can maybe start, if we get, a selection of writers, we can maybe start offering like a matchmaking service, as an example, where we can list writer profiles and people can get their profile listed, and publishers who are also using WordPigeon could come and hire the same writers that are using the same tool, as an example. That's one thing that we could do. We've also already tested copy and pasting on Shopify, on Wix, they all do it shit. They all do it shit, basically. So we're like, well, hey, we need to, once we've established this, we probably need to introduce Shopify as the next CMS. So there's so many ways that you can scale
Yeah,
solving.
but more like vertically, right? Rather than
Yeah,
horizontally, like
yeah,
adding more features.
yeah,
So expanding the current one, like throughout more platforms. Yeah, that's
exactly,
smart. When,
exactly.
yeah, I would like to expand on the thing you said on the about like niching down, and I
Yeah,
think it's extremely powerful because if you are creating a product or crafting an offer for one, literally one particular customer, you know exactly what are these problems and challenges this customer has,
yeah,
uh, desires, what are the current tools he or she is using, and then you can craft the messaging specifically for this customer, and then you will find more people who are like that, and this message will resonate with them way more. So did you know that, or when did you find this, when did you learn this, in your previous like business ventures, because not every venture succeeded, right?
yeah. I did. Most of the stuff I've tried has failed. To be, being honest. I think that I recognize that from, you know what you learn a lot about what doesn't work when most of the stuff you try fails.
Hmm.
Like I just have had a lot of failures, I think. And before WordPigeon, there's been Studio Bookers, there's been Meet My Tutor, there's been like marketplace platforms I've tried to build where you've got the chicken and egg problem. You need X users on this side to,
Yeah, yeah,
like
typical dating sites
yeah,
have this problem.
exactly, where you need to be funded, basically, I think, to make it work. Otherwise you're just going to have, how do you build market critical mass? So I think that was a big learning, that was like really damn hard to build and make that meaningful. So that was useful. And then I thought that, I guess, going narrow meant that you could much more easily understand kind of your customer. And I think that a big kind of turning point for me has been figuring out, when trying to build a tool, once I tried big marketplace ventures, was trying to solve my own problems. And
Mm.
WordPigeon was really just about solving my own problem that my writer, Melanie, specifically had, who's been instrumental in building WordPigeon, that she uses our one competitor tool, which was Wordable. And I actually bought a lifetime deal for Wordable about 3 or 4 years ago on AppSumo. And I was using that tool, and I thought, this is a really cool tool, and it solved a real problem for me. And then I was like, why aren't there any competitors to this tool? There should be, because this is still a problem. And it just really came from there. And then, as you saw per my Facebook, I put a status update saying, look, I'm looking for a developer, can anyone help me? And then my friend Max said, oh, hey man, I'd love to talk. And we'd not spoken for about 5 to 10 years. So I was like, oh, what's up, dude? And we went to school since we were 5. And and we went to school since we were 5, and that's just kind of where it all came about.
Right. Yeah. You were, I won't say lucky, but finding a good tech co-founder, man, that's difficult. Like finding a good technical co-founder who knows how to code. That's the first like prerequisite, but is a good person as well and knows, and like it clicks between two of you. Like, yeah, you two make a great team. I already had the chance to meet you, and yeah, it's amazing.
I got lucky. I got really lucky. Max is amazing, and I've tried different variations with partners I've had before, and this is not that any of them were horrible, but this has worked the best.
What do you
This is
think
what,
makes a good co-founder relationship?
honesty, I think, is important. I think that that's still a challenge that Max and I have. I think it's important when you're unhappy about something to be very. It's, as with everything, it's easy when it's easy. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
it's easy when you're still having ideas and you're still building, but there's critical turning points. I think that, Max and I have been having some honest communication recently. Some of the challenges that have been is that, Max has been, for example, concerned that I've been a bit more absent because I've got a lot of different things going on, and I'm glad he shared that with me. And one of the changes that we're now making is having a lot more regular time together, where he's
Yes.
not got my team's time, but he's got my time,
Hmm.
with me being, and I think that that's a good example of some of the honest communication you need to have with each other. Otherwise, things can brew. And equally, you know, I said to, you know, Max that in the early stages, he was so focused on development that we didn't get a time to connect and sit down with each other. And because of that, I got distracted by the pressures and responsibilities of the agency. So I allocated team resources. So I think that these are examples of different challenges that partners can have. And with each of your challenges, I think it's super important that you're honest about it and that you find some resolution and then you sense check. Because a lot of these things come down to like emotions and the way that people feel,
Yes.
whether the contribution feels equal in a 50-50 relationship. And as soon as someone feels they're getting the short end of a stick, I think things can break down super fast.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, absolutely agree. And I would like to add that ego should go completely out of the equation.
Yeah.
I know sometimes it's not that easy, but for example, if you're solving something and you really, really like your idea, you should be capable of saying, dude, your idea is better.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's taken me years to accept when I'm wrong. It's like, it's hard. And I think that that's something that, you know, I wish I did better. I'm better than I was, but I'm not as good as I want to get. But Jacob, I think you're absolutely right, dude, that, you know, accepting when someone else has a great idea and just practicing the art of saying, you know what, I think that idea is better than the idea that I had. Let's use that. And even saying that right now is so weird for me because it's just not words I'm used to saying. And I'm almost like, oh, that was like really hard. But
I mean, it's a difficult for the moment when you're actually saying the words, but then you feel good about it. If you really mean it, and if you mean it genuinely that this idea is better, then everybody wins, right?
yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's something I learned from you actually, how open you are and how much energy that you've got and how you're so interested in other people's journeys that someone like you with those amazing skills you have could do it so powerfully. And annoyingly, someone like me, I probably got more ego maybe than I should have, and I've got more a more sense of believing that I'm right, which, you know, is all perhaps mixed with my ego. And it's an ongoing challenge for me to try and get outside of that and to be like, Deepak, you don't know all of the answers, you don't know shit, like, you know, just go with ideas and stuff. So I think that you're totally right, man. And you know, it's a good reminder for anybody listening that, you know, put egos aside, you know, work hard and be humble. Like all of these things are true, and look out for, you know, how the other person
Yeah.
feels.
Yeah, and about the product building, one of the most important thing I learned throughout my experience and my journey is that you want to fail fast.
Yeah.
So if it's not supposed to work, find it out in a month or two, not in 2 years. I did this mistake when I was building my first app. We were just adding so many features, and then finally the perfect product, right? Then we found out that nobody knows exactly why they should be using it. And we could find it out in 14 days, like by asking a couple people, right? That, hey, I don't understand it. Why should I do it, right? But no, we were playing, making it perfect for 2 years. And then we found out.
Dude, the you know, that I think is a founder's dilemma. And I think that we all do that to some degree. You know, we're all afraid of our own blind spots. It's very hard to bring a baby out into the world and say, do you think my baby's beautiful? And you're like, I
Yes.
think your baby's fucking ugly, dude. And you're like, oh, it's like, it's horrible. And it's the same when you build anything. And, you know, gosh, like, I think that it takes us lifetimes to learn the simplest lessons for all of us. You know, the best lessons learned are often simple, always. You know, in hindsight, I wish I knew that. But that's the beauty and challenge, I think, of you know, of all of the marathons that I've done and the marathons that I did with just my Casio watch. And Deepak, why didn't you track your time? Why didn't you use a Garmin? Oh, it's so obvious, but you know, I didn't. And maybe it's because I didn't really want to know how slow I was. I didn't really want to know how bad my times were. And our egos in our own ways have a really funny way of protecting ourselves. And that's an
Yeah.
example of your ego protecting yourself, because your way of making sure that you don't have to confront other people's realities is by building something, you know, in a very close circle where you're all, and that's part of the human psyche. That's part of the human psyche. It's how tribes work, etc. And it's why people will continue to fail for the same thing, because it's part of, you know, our human psychology to be able to, you know, protect ourselves with the things that we build and nurture and care for. And we'll all keep making that mistake. So
And not only fail, I mean, for some people, they won't even start, right?
yeah. It's
Which is this like failure in a sense. But I think ego, yeah, can hold you back. Yesterday I had a interesting conversation with Theo Cummings from Austin, Texas, and he's a personal development coach. And I asked him, hey, why do you think that, or tell me, what do you think about fear of the unknown? And he said that, I think it doesn't exist. You cannot be scared of the unknown. You don't know what the unknown is. Right? So how can you be scared of it? The fact you're scared of projecting previous experiences to the thing that might happen in the future, right? So you maybe had a bad experience in the past of starting a business. Somebody laughed at you. I don't know. Somebody didn't believe in it. You failed. You lost money. And then this is holding you back, not the unknown, but this experience
yeah,
will be repeated in the future.
yeah. I mean, that's all we have to project what's going to happen next. Really, it's direct experience, it's social learning, and we combine those two inside our reptilian brain. I'd add to that and say the fear of the unknown is biologically rooted
Mm-hmm.
in us. So that's the other thing I'd probably add to that and say fear of the unknown is often biological, and the only way to upset ultimately what is a biological survival driver is by continual repetition. It's the only way.
Yes.
It's the only way. You
You're
forget
saying
so fast.
reptilian brain. Yeah, and I would like to add to that. Our brain is not designed to make us happy, right? It's designed to make us safe. So the unknown in when you were where we were running with rocks, the unknown was what is in the cave. There is darkness and different and weird sounds are coming from the cave. It's
Yeah.
the unknown. I
Yeah.
won't go there,
And
right?
and and
And your
uh,
brain just made you safe because
and
it was risky to go there.
exactly. And now the cave is posting on Facebook about my great new startup. Now the cave is, you know, making a public presentation. Now the cave is, you know, your partner who looks at you when you've maybe not cleaned the dishes. This is all kind of, you know, what has replaced it. And our brain, our reptilian brain doesn't distinguish between them. You know,
Yeah,
it's just a stress response that, you know, activates cortisol inside your body. It interrupts, you know, the immuno response, and you get basically freaked the hell out. And that's why, you know, people fear going up to someone in a club if they're dating. That's why many people either build a product but don't launch it until last minute. That's why people have dreams of, you know, starting something, but actually they're in love with the dream, and that's enough for them. And that's
mm.
actually where they find their solace. Or people live vicariously by watching movies, and that's where they act out the fantasies they've got in their mind. So I think that, you know, that's just, I think, the human nature at work. And I think that the beauty of that is that it also allows opportunity for those, you know, crazy few like yourself who go out, take risk, and live continually with their reptilian brain standing over them saying, wow, what? And there's this
Yeah.
continual, and that's, you know, the entrepreneurial highs and lows. That's literally where it's rooted from. I felt
Mm-hmm.
great at 2 p.m. Now I feel crap at 5 p.m. Now I'm back feeling great at 8 p.m. It's because there's this and it's probably not very healthy for us, but there's this continual stress response
Mm-hmm.
that's going on the whole time. And I think that's what sits at it.
But I think if you reach some level of self-awareness and you know that these things are being repeated throughout the day, week, month, or year, or lifetime, that sometimes you're low, sometimes you're high, maybe you discover a pattern, it just doesn't throw you off track. Like you know that this is completely natural, and you won't be behaving based on this negative emotions,
Yeah.
but based on knowing that, hey, this is actually completely normal, and it's okay not to feel all the time like hyped up and on the top of my game. Actually, when you have this mindset, you will start loving the lows, because fuck, there are challenges. These are the challenges when you have your bitch voice back in your head telling you, oh man, you should just sleep a little bit longer, and you say shut up, and you just wake up, get a cold shower, and you're gonna crush your day.
Dude, you're totally right. I think that you can condition your responses a little bit like Pavlov's dogs. And they talk about it in the SEALs. There's a specific term that they use, and I don't recall, but they make this emphasis upon continual re-exposure to life-threatening situations to suspend that part of your mammalian brain so that you can just think practically, logically, and operate under any circumstance. And
Resilient.
Yeah. Sorry, say again.
Resilience or something like that.
Yeah, I need to find the actual terminology. I'll go out and find it. But
Okay.
the basic premise behind it is that one of the keys to being able or to become an excellent Navy SEAL is by continual re-exposure to life-threatening environments to practice actually controlled responses in very stressful scenarios.
Yes.
And that's something that, to be honest with you, multimillionaires have in common with Navy SEALs, that have in common with doctors or surgeons who work in accident and emergency. And there's probably a very similar commonality between any area where you've got a high frequency of stress and it requires control and logic in those situations. And then, that's, you have to have it to succeed. You just have to have that ability to manage stressful situations on a almost daily basis, because otherwise you just fucking crumble.
Yeah, and the good part about it is that you can learn it. It's not, I mean, you can have like talents, natural talents, to be more resilient and be more ready to handle more difficult situations, but you can learn it by consciously doing the uncomfortable things during the day, every day, right? So I would say that first step of, if you're a complete failure right now and you want to change something in your life, I don't know if it's a physique or money, just do something new which is completely uncomfortable for you. Just take a cold shower, go to sleep at 10 p.m. For some people it's fucking difficult to go to sleep at 10 p.m. But do something uncomfortable and then just start stacking more uncomfortable things on that, and you will find the momentum going really, really fast.
Dude, I love it. It's like discomfort stacking. It's like, stack stress responses, or just it's that part of being in your stretch zone, right? And this is, I imagine, given that you talk to a lot of personal development people, that this is probably a continued theme across kind of the narrative that sits across a lot of people that deal with successful people, or are trained in deal with successful people, and are successful people in their own rights. And certainly, I think that my 20s have been very, very helpful for hopefully the success that I will see in my 30s. My 20s were discomfort stacking in the physical space, 100%.
It compounds. I mean, it's similar. Like if you look on a Warren Buffett net worth, like it's nothing, not nothing. He was millionaire, right? But it's not that exponential growth for like the majority of his life, and then like in I don't know, last 15 years, 20 years, it's just hugely exponential. It's that hockey stick that every investor wants to see. And I think it's the same with knowledge and the skills and experience. So whatever you acquired during your 20s, or any time basically, not only 20s, it compounds, and you will see it like maybe in 10 years you will see the true effect. But
Absolutely.
the key is to do the right things.
Dude, absolutely. Like, I couldn't agree more that it's really, it is about, stack experiences, stack new and continually varied experiences. A lot of people stack the same thing, and you're like, you don't learn if you don't change. And then at some point it does all come together, and you'll find some level of huge success. And I think it's just like, it's an inevitability if you continue just, I liken it to like, wall, mud, throw. Wall, mud, throw. What
Mm-hmm.
sticks? Work more on that. What sticks? Work more on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly just, that's why I put up these Facebook status updates, looking for a LinkedIn lead gen expert. You know, it's not that I don't have a team. People are like, why are you looking for a team, or this or that? And I'm like, you know what, dude, I don't know what I don't know. And I want to just try and find something.
Yeah.
And you know, and I live in a space now where I don't have the time to sit and watch 7 hours of tutorials over 3 or 4 weeks. Like, you know, it transitions as you grow, as you well know, that there comes a space where you can't dedicate as much time as you want to learning, or the learning that you do is much more about mindset and other things, as opposed to, have you watched the latest video on how to get the best from your Facebook ads? You're like, no, I haven't, dude, because
In
you know,
other words, you have more money than time right now, so
yeah,
you choose to
yeah.
build a team.
And then the time that you do have for learning changes to learn different things. It's no longer about learning a specific skill set. It's learning about hiring, training, management, development, leadership, and growth, as opposed to direct response training, where you're learning about how to set up something in particular.
Gotcha. Deepak, we could be talking all the time about stuff like this. But what is the one thing you would like to say to audience who are watching or listening as a podcast? One actionable thing that they can do today or next week.
Guys, I think that it's look, I think take your credit card and commit, you know, £100 or €100 or $100, 100 of whatever it is in your currency, as long as it's a little bit meaningful, to trying something new, and have that budget once a month, every month. And that
Mm-hmm.
could be, you know, this week I went to a talk with Daniela. We went to one about gut-based medicine, and how you can really think about your gut as in your stomach, and food as medicine. Next week, I think we're going to transcendental meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to these talks and I literally end up writing pages of notes, because I'm like, whoa, I'm learning something completely new, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and commit to that process. And it's just about the physical action. So whatever it is, attach a monetary figure to it, because then it's much, much more likely to stick.
Yes.
So spend some money on something and commit a budget to just trying something new, trying something random, and say, right, for the next 6 months, I have to spend at least £100 or euros a month, every month, on something completely new, completely random.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll often find that your biggest victories in your life will come from these unexpected places.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's an amazing advice. And if you have like problem doing this on your own, just find somebody, some accountability buddy who will help you with that, right?
Yeah.
So you will have a friend who will be going on these events with you, right? So you will hold each other accountable.
I agree, completely agree, dude.
All right, Deepak. So thanks a lot for coming to my show. And guys, if it brought you some value, please share it on social media. Take a screenshot of the app you are listening this podcast on. Send it to your friend. Post it to your stories. If you're watching it on YouTube, share the link to some friends who are into personal development, as your business, or you just enjoy the talk. Don't be selfish. Share it, because we shared some amazing value here. So guys, that's it for today. Deepak, thanks a lot again for coming, and till next time.
Jacob, thank you, my friend. Thank you, everybody.